Hello and welcome back to the Movie Memo Recaps. Today we are going to recap a 2015 movie titled Sicario. Please be advised that there will be spoilers ahead. In Arizona, FBI agents have encircled a house linked to the notorious Sonora Cartel. Meanwhile, another team of agents, including Kate Mazer and Reggie Wayne, approaches the residence with urgency. They crash through the walls and begin a methodical search for potential hostages. Taking charge of the operation, Kate bursts into a room just in time to evade a shotgun blast, ultimately neutralizing her assailant. However, what they discover in the aftermath is chilling. Heavily decayed bodies are found embedded within the walls, leaving the agents visibly shaken and gasping for air outside. As Kate and her superior, Agent Jennings, enter the house, they tally over 40 bodies. Although they lack concrete evidence, they suspect that the property belongs to Sonora Cartel Lieutenant Manuel Diaz, who is currently in hiding within the United States. Outside, two police officers investigating a shed stumble upon a locked trapdoor. As they alert the agents, a sudden explosion devastates the shed, claiming the lives of both officers. Returning home, Kate is visibly rattled by the harrowing events. Shortly thereafter, she and Reggie are summoned to the FBI office, where Jennings and other officials are reviewing her file with a man interested in her expertise. When called in, Kate meets CIA officer Matt Graver, who probes her knowledge of Manuel Diaz's operations and inquires about her personal life. A hesitant Kate reveals her divorce and lack of children. After further discussions, Graver and his colleagues inform her that they are forming a task force to investigate the Sonora Cartel's activities, with Graver at the helm, and they want her to serve as a liaison. Their initial target is Guillermo, Manuel's brother, believed to be hiding in El Paso, though Graver remains somewhat vague about details. Jennings emphasizes that she must volunteer for this assignment, to which Kate agrees on the condition that she can pursue those responsible for the gruesome discoveries in the house. Reggie drives Kate to an Air Force base to meet Hattie, however, only Kate is permitted entry. She is escorted to a runway where Hattie awaits with a private jet. As she boards, another man named Alejandro follows and takes a seat. After introducing herself, Kate finds him unresponsive, as he inquires whether she has ever been to Juarez, Mexico, confusing her since their destination is El Paso. Upon arrival in Texas, they are greeted by CIA Black Ops agent Steve Forsing and transported to a U.S. military base. Here, Kate finds herself integrated into a substantial task force that includes U.S. Marshals and elite Delta Force operators, preparing for an intense mission against the cartel. They have successfully apprehended Guillermo and are preparing to transport him from his current location back to the base. The team is cautioned to remain vigilant for cartel members who may be planning an ambush. Following the briefing, Kate, still uncertain about Alejandro's true identity, discovers that he was once a federal prosecutor in Mexico and is actually of Colombian nationality. This revelation raises even more questions for her, but Alejandro reassures her that everything will eventually become clear. Hattie refers to Alejandro as an advisor, yet Kate remains skeptical about the legitimacy of his role. She seeks clarity on what she is getting into, but Hattie insists that their mission is solely focused on dismantling the individuals responsible for the horrific events in Arizona. She presents Kate with a choice: stay behind or step up and make a meaningful impact. The task force soon sets out in a convoy, crossing the Mexican border to join a larger contingent of federal police. As they navigate the quiet streets leading into Juarez, Kate is confronted with a horrifying sight: bodies hanging from a bridge, a stark reminder of the violence they are up against. After some time, they receive intelligence indicating that the cartel is aware of their route, prompting them to adjust their plans and continue onward. Upon reaching the facility where Guillermo is being held, Alejandro expresses concern that the cartel may attempt something at the border. He warns Kate to be cautious of the state police, as many are believed to be affiliated with the cartel. The team secures Guillermo and prepares to hit the road once more, with federal police providing an escort to the border. However, they soon find themselves stalled in traffic. Alejandro is the first to spot cartel members approaching in two separate vehicles and urgently warns Kate to be ready. The team readies their weapons but is instructed to engage only if provoked. Suddenly, one of the gangsters opens his car door, prompting the team to swiftly take cover and issue a warning for the men to stand down. When one man flinches, Delta operatives neutralize him and everyone else in that vehicle. The other car meets a similar fate at the hands of Forsing. In the chaos, Kate is forced to eliminate a rogue federal cop attempting to shoot her before the team makes their escape. Back at their base, Kate grapples with her unease, questioning the legality of their actions. Graver reassures her that this is the new reality of warfare and emphasizes the importance of understanding how these operations function. He heads to the interrogation room where Guillermo is being held, but Guillermo feigns ignorance of English. Anticipating this tactic, Graver plans to enlist an old friend to facilitate communication. Alejandro is approached by Rafael, a Mexican police official and an old ally from his previous life. Their reunion is filled with relief at seeing each other still engaged in the fight against the cartel. Rafael shares vital information about a secret tunnel used for smuggling by the cartel but urges Alejandro to act quickly before it's too late. Rafael, visibly shaken, offers a heartfelt apology to Alejandro for the hardships he endured before taking his leave. With a jug of water in hand, Alejandro strides toward Guillermo's interrogation room. As he enters, Guillermo's expression shifts to one of fear, and he instinctively refers to Alejandro as Medellin. Alejandro closes the distance, invading Guillermo's personal space and heightening the tension before the interrogation takes a dark turn into brutal torture. Meanwhile, Kate follows a Delta operator up to the rooftop of the compound, where they gaze down upon Juarez. The city has morphed into a war zone overnight since Guillermo's capture, a stark testament to the chaos unleashed by their actions. Soon after, Reggie arrives to pick up Kate, Graver, and Alejandro. He notices Alejandro and inquires about him, but Kate simply urges urgency, they need to leave. Upon arriving in Arizona, they find themselves amidst a large group of Mexican migrants who have been rounded up illegally. Alejandro instructs his team to release everyone except those from Nogales and Sonora, where the infamous tunnels are believed to be located. Kate's curiosity is piqued as she wonders about their objective, but Mesa advises her to observe quietly. Alejandro takes charge of the remaining migrants, probing them about their previous journeys to the U.S., examining their hands and backgrounds for clues. Reggie grows increasingly frustrated with the lack of transparency and pulls Graver aside for a private conversation. He threatens to walk away if he doesn't receive clarity. Graver, pressed by Reggie's insistence, eventually reveals that they are acting on intelligence from Guillermo and are trying to pinpoint the Sonora tunnels by understanding which areas migrants tend to avoid. Reggie demands to know the true nature of their mission and learns that Graver's strategy involves creating enough disruption in Mexico to compel Manuel to return and reveal his true superior, Fausto Alarcón, known as El Verdugo. Alejandro likens finding him to discovering a vaccine for a devastating disease. Though Kate and Reggie accept this unsettling truth, they insist on being kept informed. Back at home, Kate grapples with her conflicting emotions regarding justice and procedure. She finds solace in the harrowing images of cartel violence, convincing herself that the ends justify the means. Later, Reggie visits her, expressing his suspicions about Graver's true intentions, as CIA operations within U.S. borders are prohibited. He believes Graver's role as a DoD advisor is merely a facade. As Kate comes to terms with the reality of their mission's gravity, Reggie insists she needs someone looking out for her. They convene with Graver and Alejandro at a motel where selected migrants provide crucial information about the tunnel system and cartel routes. Graver then instructs Kate to alert SWAT as they begin surveillance on a bank linked to Manuel's money laundering operations. Inside, they spot a female money mule making a cash deposit. As she exits the bank, the team swiftly moves in to apprehend her, uncovering a bag brimming with cash, an indication of the intricate web of crime they are entangled in. Kate believes they have a chance to build a strong case against Manuel, disregarding Graver's explicit instruction not to enter the bank. Determined to gather evidence, she and Reggie step inside to speak with the bank manager about Manuel's accounts. They discover that Manuel's deposits are linked to a staggering $17 million line of credit from the bank, creating a negative balance that goes unreported. Excited by this information, Kate presents it to Graver, convinced it could lead to Manuel's arrest and a solid case against him. However, Graver firmly reminds her that their primary objective is to ensure Manuel returns to Mexico, refusing to take any action that might jeopardize that goal. Undeterred, Kate decides to bring her findings to Jennings, hoping to adhere to some form of procedure and pursue a legitimate case. Jennings acknowledges the challenges they've faced in securing prosecutions, noting that the results aren't reflected on the streets. He reassures Kate and Reggie that individuals like Matt and the task force are established by elected officials, which means she need not fear stepping outside conventional boundaries. After leaving Jennings' office, Kate and Reggie plan to unwind with a drink, unaware that Alejandro is watching them from a distance. At the bar, as they enjoy their drinks and conversation, Kate notices a man across the room who seems to be interested in her. The man approaches and reveals he is an old friend of Reggie's. He introduces himself as Ted, a Phoenix cop. The atmosphere lightens as Ted joins them at their table, and they share laughter and stories. When Ted invites Kate to dance, their chemistry ignites, leading to a passionate makeout session that eventually brings them back to her apartment. In the heat of the moment, Kate notices a rubber band on Ted's wrist that matches those found in the money mule's bag. Realizing the connection, she instinctively reaches for her gun, prompting a struggle between them. Ted overpowers her and grips her throat, nearly taking her life when Alejandro suddenly appears, gun drawn and aimed at Ted's face. Later, Graver confronts Kate about her decision to enter the bank, emphasizing that this incident reveals Manuel's increasing boldness. Reggie feels guilty for introducing her to Ted, unaware of his cartel ties. In a brutal confrontation, Graver and Alejandro beat Ted mercilessly, threatening to expose his family to the cartel and imprison him in a labor camp unless he cooperates. Ted admits he's in over his head and attempts to negotiate, but Alejandro demands answers about how many cartel-affiliated officers are on the force. Afterward, Alejandro checks on Kate, who is still reeling from the traumatic encounter. He reveals that Ted was sent to extract information about what she knows. Grateful for Alejandro's timely intervention, Kate thanks him for saving her life. In a moment of vulnerability, Alejandro confides that Kate reminds him of someone very dear to him. He advises her to rest well, as tomorrow they will call Manuel back to Mexico, a pivotal step in their dangerous game against the cartel. The following day, the team positions themselves to observe the Sonora Tunnel, a critical entry point into Mexico. We are introduced to Silvio, a dedicated Sonora police officer, who is enjoying a quiet dinner with his son, promising to play soccer with him afterward. As his son reaches for a nearby rifle, Silvio sternly admonishes him, emphasizing the importance of keeping away from such dangerous objects. Meanwhile, Kate and Reggie visit the motel room where Graver's task force is closely monitoring Manuel's residence, waiting for any sign of movement. The team is strategizing a raid on the tunnel, intending to eliminate all mules and combatants as a diversion, as per Graver's directive. Their anticipation builds when they spot Manuel leaving his home. This is the crucial signal they've been waiting for. Graver, however, has no intention of including Kate and Reggie in the operation. He doubts their discretion and fears they might leak information to the FBI. Yet, he recognizes their necessity, as the CIA cannot proceed without their involvement. This realization hits Kate. She understands why she was brought into this operation. Reggie expresses his concern that they are merely pawns in a larger game and suggests they walk away, but Kate is determined to uncover the true purpose behind their involvement. As the task force sets out in their convoy, we see cartel members loading drugs into the trunk of Silvio's police car before he drives off toward the tunnel. The task force halts at a safe distance from the tunnel entrance, where Delta operatives instruct Kate and Reggie to remain at the back to avoid becoming a distraction. The team meticulously checks their gear before advancing into the darkness of the tunnel like phantoms on a mission. As they approach the entrance, Graver orders the team to go weapons-free. He leads the way, drawing his blade as he descends cautiously into the shadows. In the back, Kate and Reggie hear muffled struggles and desperate screams before encountering several lifeless bodies that Graver has dispatched. They arrive at the main chamber of the tunnel, now illuminated, just as gunfire erupts from the lead team engaging the cartel. Kate moves forward but narrowly avoids being shot. Reggie reacts swiftly, neutralizing the threat and urging her to stay behind him for safety. Meanwhile, Silvio hastily unloads drugs from his car on the Mexican side as the sound of gunfire draws nearer. Just as they prepare to leave, Alejandro appears, dispatching a nearby cartel member. Silvio recognizes him as Medellin and is paralyzed with fear. Kate intervenes, ordering Alejandro to let Silvio go, but he retaliates by shooting her in the vest, warning her never to aim a weapon at him. Alejandro then commandeers Silvio's police car, reporting back to his team while receiving directions toward Manuel's vehicle. Silvio, trembling with anxiety, pleads with Alejandro about his son's safety. Alejandro coldly instructs him to follow orders if he wishes to see his family again. Back in the tunnel, after successfully clearing it out, Reggie suddenly alerts the team to Kate's absence, an alarming development that raises immediate concerns for her safety. They are rushing back to find her when, suddenly, she stumbles out of the tunnel. In a moment of desperation, Kate lunges at Graver, but he swiftly overpowers her, pinning her down while the Delta team secures Reggie. Graver forces Kate to regain her composure, revealing that she had ventured into the wrong tunnel and witnessed something she shouldn't have. When she demands to know who Medellin is, Graver explains that Medellin represents a time when one faction dominated the drug trade, an era the CIA found easier to control. What Kate witnessed was Alejandro re-establishing that dominance. Graver reveals that Alejandro is a CIA-trained assassin working for the Colombian Medellin cartel. While the CIA exploits his skills, Alejandro is simultaneously using them to exact revenge on Fausto Alarcón and the Sonora cartel for the brutal murder of his wife and the horrific fate of his daughter. Despite this revelation, Kate remains unconvinced that such actions are justified and vows to expose the CIA's operations. Graver warns her that doing so would be a grave mistake. Meanwhile, Alejandro and Silvio are driving when they spot Manuel's car in the distance. Alejandro commands Silvio to confront Manuel, who reluctantly pulls over. Using a loudspeaker, Silvio orders Manuel to exit the vehicle, and after a tense moment, Manuel steps out, questioning whether Silvio knows his identity. After forcing Manuel to disarm, Alejandro instructs Silvio to step out of the car as well. In a shocking turn, Alejandro suddenly kills Silvio and shoots Manuel in the leg. Despite Manuel's claim of being a jefe, Alejandro reveals he knows exactly who he is and threatens him with unspeakable violence against his family if he resists. Alejandro then compels Manuel to drive to Fausto's mansion. Upon arrival, he swiftly eliminates a guard at the front gate just as the guard calls in an all-clear. Manuel, filled with dread, asks about his fate, but Alejandro dismisses his question entirely. As they approach another heavily guarded gate, Alejandro ruthlessly takes out all the guards before shooting Manuel in the neck and leaving him to bleed out in the car. Entering the mansion with his weapon drawn, Alejandro dispatches an unsuspecting guard before confronting Fausto, who is dining with his wife and 2 sons. Holding Fausto at gunpoint, Alejandro takes a seat, speaking in English to avoid alarming the children. He confronts Fausto about his hypocrisy, dining with family while orchestrating violence on the streets. Fausto retorts that those who sent Alejandro are not so different from himself. He questions whether Alejandro's wife would be proud of what he has become, but Alejandro counters with a reminder of his daughter's plight. Fausto tries to rationalize his actions as merely business, but for Alejandro, it is deeply personal. He pleads for his life, begging not to die in front of his family. In a swift act of vengeance, Alejandro kills everyone at the table except Fausto, leaving him trembling in fear before delivering the final blow himself. Later, Kate finds herself on her balcony at home, lost in thought when an unsettling presence behind her prompts a warning to stay away from the edge. Turning, she discovers Alejandro, her own gun in hand, commanding her to sit. Trembling with anxiety, she complies as he takes a seat directly across from her, his gaze piercing as he tells her she reminds him of his daughter. With chilling calmness, he hands her a document absolving the CIA and himself of any wrongdoing, insisting she sign it. As she reads the words, a wave of despair washes over her, the weight of the decision is unbearable, and tears begin to stream down her face. In a moment of cold intimidation, Alejandro presses the barrel of her gun against her chin, chillingly explaining that her death would appear self-inflicted. Overwhelmed by the threat and the emotional turmoil, Kate reluctantly signs the document. Alejandro then advises her to relocate to another town, asserting that she is not a wolf and will not survive this dangerous game before he exits. As he strides through the parking lot, Kate's resolve shifts. She retrieves another gun and aims it at him from her balcony. Alejandro turns to face her, unflinching, but in that moment of confrontation, Kate finds herself paralyzed by doubt and cannot pull the trigger. She watches helplessly as he walks away, a haunting reminder of the choices she has made. Meanwhile, Silvio's widow and son attend one of his football matches, blissfully unaware of the chaos around them. When gunshots pierce the air nearby, they dismiss it as just another day in their world, highlighting the pervasive violence that has become all too ordinary. Thank you for watching. If you are new, don't forget to subscribe for more recaps. Until next time, have